Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to talk about having like a numbers party today because, again, alongside last week's episode, right, there's New Year's resolution energy. A lot of us are big visioning. I know there's a lot of energy around 2025 that like 2025 is like fucking shit for a lot of people. 2025 was a bizarre year for me. It was a really great year for me, but also I'm in my Saturn return right now. And if you don't know what that means, it just is like, astrologically speaking, it's the time in your life where like a lot of shit kind of gets like thrown out the window. You get thrown for a whirlwind to like get you back in alignment and like get you on the path you're meant to be. So I got about a month and a half left of my Saturn return. Those of you who have been in that with me, I see you, I feel you. So it's been a lot this past year. Also, not to mention just like the shit we've had to witness and go through and process in 2025. I'm recording this in mid-December, right before I go out of office for the holidays. So like, because I'm going to fully shut off for the rest of the year. I think my brain space needs that. So I also don't know if anything's happened between now and the beginning of 2026. But my desires right now for 2026 is it's going to be like different. It's going to feel a lot different. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that feels different, a lot of desires and goals and stuff that I used to really want that I think are falling away, and new things or things that have been buried for a while are coming back up for me. So all of that to say, there's like some new dreaming and visioning that I'm feeling in myself and that I've heard from friends and other people, like some of my clients, and just in the ether, the zeitgeist. I'm feeling that there's this energy of like new dreams, new visions, realigning, renewing, shit's shifting. So in that energy, let's bring our money and our numbers into that party. And I'm going to walk you through an exercise of how to play with numbers financially without getting stuck in them, without losing the meaning and the energy and the vibes behind the numbers, and how to use these numbers to actually create momentum and excitement around your creativity, around your career, around your heart, around your values, where it's actually then becomes less about the numbers, but we're using the numbers as a way into our most aligned, excited, peaceful, happy selves. That's what we're going to do today. So there's a couple layers to this exercise, and I'm combining some exercises that I have taught on in the past into like one mega exercise to help you really tap into like, what are the things you want to shift for this year, and what would those numbers look like, and then what does that actually mean for you when it comes to taking action towards these goals, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do, you have to like prep your brain to be in the most ripe place to be able to think about like your real desires, and then be able to be in a playful energy around numbers without automatically shutting your brain off of like, well, that's not possible, or like, who do you think you are, or like, that's crazy, or whatever it is. So the first thing you're going to do, I mean, the thing that I love to do to help clear my brain space is I do a stream of consciousness journaling. Sometimes it'll be like after my morning pages. If you've done the Artist Way, it's like 3 pages of just journaling on whatever comes up. It doesn't matter what you write. You just have to fill 3 pages. So I'll do that for a little bit because my brain is extremely overactive. So I have to get a bunch of shit out. And then I do I'll take a few minutes to do some breathing exercises or meditate, but really that's just, my meditating is just breathing exercises. So I'll do that first to center myself. So whatever that means for you, this is an important part of this because it is very important for this exercise that you are the most like open, receptive, and like released version of your brain and your body in order to effectively tap into whatever this exercise is gonna bring you. So that could be like, maybe you feel the most that like after a workout. So you're gonna go like do a heavy workout first. Maybe it's after you've like it's a time of day. So maybe it's in the morning time after you've had your coffee. That's when you feel that vibe the most. Or maybe it's after everyone's gone to sleep and it's like just you in the living room, like, and you light a candle. That's the time you feel it. So whatever that means to you, that's my way in, is my journaling and then my breathing exercises. And then I do light a candle, and I have to be the only one home. So I do it when my partner's at work. That's when I feel most receptive. So take that if you don't know what yours is, or do whatever feels best for you in that realm. Second thing you're going to do. Now I want you to actually ask yourself some questions, and you can journal on these. You can also take a walk and think, which is where you ask yourself the question and then you just think about that question as you walk it out. Especially when it's super chilly. I like do that on my walking pad sometimes. Also, sometimes this sounds very silly, but I do have a lot of really great ideas or like aha moments when I have my like T-Pain playlist on and I'm like dancing in my apartment alone. Even though there's like words and like stimulation in my brain, I think it's something about like the ADHD and the overactivity that like when my brain and my body are being distracted by T-Pain in the most beautiful way, then I think other things come up for me. So with all that being said, you can do that. You can journal. You can talk out loud to yourself. My partner is a projector in human design. And so what that means is he has his aha moments when he is speaking things out loud, even if it's just to himself. Where me, I need to like have it in my own brain. If anyone tries to be a part of my initial rumination on something, like I get really cranky about it. Whatever version speaks to you on how you're going to, I'm just going to use the word journal, but it can encompass any of those things, which is just ruminating on a specific question. The thing I want you to journal on is, if I could drop myself into a new version of my life tomorrow, what would that new version look like? So it has to be your life. You can't magically become someone else, right? It's a version of your life, but it can be any iteration, expansion of your life. So where are you living? What kind of place are you living in? Who's around you? What kind of work are you doing? What does your day-to-day look like? What are you wearing? What's surrounding you? And I want you to like envision all of that. So that's your first bit of journaling. Also, something I encourage you to do actually here is pause this podcast episode and come back to it when you're actually in this moment of you've done your exercise or your meditation or your stream of consciousness journaling, you're in your vibe, and you've done the first part of this stream of consciousness journaling, okay? Then you're going to come back to this episode. So this is your pause point. You're going to come back to this episode, and then you're going to continue journaling on these next series of questions, okay? Because it might be helpful to go step by step without knowing what the next question is or what the next step of the exercise is. I want you to reserve about an hour of time to do this. Okay, you might only need like half an hour, but give yourself an hour to really ruminate in this exercise. Okay, so first thing is, what's the immediate thing that comes to your brain of like the expansion, a new version of your life, right? What does that look like? Next part of that question is, if you could only choose two aspects of that new version of your life that you plopped yourself into, you could only change two aspects of that life. You could only hold on to two of them. What would those two things be and why? Journal on that. The third thing, and this is just something that I want you to think about, and it might have you redoing the first part of this exercise if this rings true, but I want you to think about the new version of your life that you plopped yourself into. Is it actually you? Like if you walked around in the space you're inhabiting and the career you're doing and the people that you're around and like what's going on, and you like walked past a mirror, is it you that you see in that mirror? Or is this other kind of foggy version of a person who you think you want to be, who has that kind of life because you can't actually see yourself living that kind of life? Or is it because that life isn't actually really the thing you want, right? I say this because I've had a lot of conversations with clients about this, but when I was first doing like visualization exercises, and I mean, still this will happen, but I'll think through like certain things that I want and where I want to be and all of that. And then I'll realize that like I'm living in a house that I would never actually want to live in. Like as I'm walking through, it's like Pinterest got into my brain. And I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't actually like that. Or like when I look at myself in the mirror, like in the visualization, I'm like, that's not actually me though. Like if I place me in that mirror. Okay, so here's a part of like if you're doing a visualization alongside of this, which I highly recommend, and you're walking through your space in that new version of your life, what you can do is literally in the visualization, walk yourself past a mirror, look at yourself in the mirror, look at yourself, and you're not allowed to change anything about yourself. Like what you're wearing right now, me and my little alligator t-shirt and my pink leggings, and I'm gonna look at myself in the mirror and I'm gonna see myself. My exact haircut, my exact clothes, my exact body, my exact face. And I'm gonna see her, and then I'm gonna turn around and look at what I've created. And I'm gonna see what feels true and what doesn't. That's a very powerful visualization. So after you do the first part of this exercise, run yourself through it, look at yourself in the mirror, turn yourself around, see what you've created. And that also might help you decide what are the 2 things that actually feel like real aligned shifts that I want to make, or real things that I want to bring into my life. Or you might have to scrap it and go again. Start at the mirror and then turn around and start creating it from scratch, okay? So that's the first part of the exercise, okay? So now that you have your 2 things, you can also pause it here if you need to. This is your next pause point. Okay, so now let's move on. So now that you've got your 2 things, your 2 aligned shifts that you want to make, I want you to think about what those 2 things mean financially, right? So maybe it's the kind of apartment you're living in. Maybe it's the kind of career you have. Maybe it's the kind of lifestyle that you live. Maybe it's the kind of like day-to-day work life. Maybe it's like the minute things, right? Like the things that stuck out in your vision was like the meals you eat and how you travel to and from the things in your day-to-day and like how you go to bed. It might be micro things rather than big high-level things. So whatever that is, what does that mean financially? So now we're going to move into the numbers piece. So I want you to actually create a breakdown financially of what this new plopped new version of you in your new life with mainly these 2 new shifts in your life, what that means. So how you can do this is, if you all have done the money flow method and you've heard me talk about the firm and flex numbers, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I teach you how to do this inside of Cashed Up Creative, my online course. You'll learn how to figure out what it actually costs to live as you month to month, how to manage it in less than 1 hour a month with the money flow method. So that's what I'm talking about here. What you can do to create this new dream life financial breakdown is, what's your new firm number and what's your new flex number? What's your new baseline? So does the apartment you want to live in cost more? What does that cost? The kind of career you have, right? Like what's that paycheck, or what do you desire that income level to be with certain creative work? And then like, what are your transportation costs? What are you living in a new city that has a different cost of living? And then flex spending. Did you want more wiggle room in your flex spending because those like micro things in your day-to-day like increased your finances, your financial spending? So do a new firm and flex number for this dream life. Break all that down. Create a new baseline. So what is that monthly number? Okay? So now you have your new monthly number. But then I want you to think about, like, with this new version of your life that you've plopped yourself into with these 2 main things, what are those sinking funds, those savings buckets? That's another word for savings buckets, is sinking funds. What are the new sinking funds or savings buckets that you're going to have, and why, and how much is in them? Is there an increased vacation bucket? Why? Right? Do you desire is there something about like retiring earlier or being financially independent where like your investments have gone up and increased, and why? Is there more spending that's happening in your acting career, right? So now you have an agent and a manager that are taking 20%, one is taking 10% is the other one's taking. So now you've got 30% of your paychecks that are going to them, but you have to like set it aside in your savings bucket. Do you have like, are you producing, right? So then that means you have a business that you're running. That's like a whole other different realm of finances. So like if it's that, then like create 2 different financial breakdowns of like, what is the breakdowns of like your business finances, your dream business that you want to run, and then your personal finances. What do you desire to pay yourself, right? Based on the new baseline that you've created. So this is like number playtime. That's what I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. This isn't like you have to like get something right your first time doing this. This is you playing around with like, what do the different numbers mean? What could the different numbers look like? And if I want this kind of baseline, what does that mean for my income? Or if my dream is this kind of income, what does that mean for how much I get to spend? What are the kinds of things that I want to spend on? What are the kinds of things that I'm going to be saving for, right? Play with all of those numbers, okay? And you might come up with like multiple versions of these numbers, or like maybe you don't know exactly where you want to live. Maybe you are about to graduate at the end of this semester and you're like, am I going to move to New York? Am I going to move, home to Philadelphia? Am I going to move out to LA? Will I move to San Diego? You have all these places that you might want to move. Do a breakdown for each city and have fun with it. Like go and look at like a dream apartment that you would love to live in. Do that for the research of helping you find your firm number, your baseline number, right? So have so much fun with this. Have so much fun with this. If it feels arduous or if the numbers start to feel like hard and icky, it's because you've jumped ahead to the next step. Okay? We're not jumping ahead to the next step. This is playtime. Highly recommend you don't do this in a Google spreadsheet. Highly recommend that you do this inside of a journal with colored pens. Or if you don't do it with colored pens, highly recommend you just do it in your notes app, but with like some fun background on your TV or like playing on YouTube. You've got ambiance in your headspace so that it doesn't feel like stuffy and spreadsheety. Playtime with these numbers, okay? Do that. No, your next pause point is right here. Okay, the next part of this exercise is now you're going to journal again. Journal, walk and think. Have yourself a little dance party where you let things, some ahas, ruminate for you. The next question is, what would it require for me to actually live that life? So spending and income are the two things, like when we're looking at the finances of it, right? What would it actually look like to live that life? So does something need to happen with how you make income? And does it mean just increasing client load, increasing a few gigs, right? Increasing tier of work, like I need to bump up to the next tier, right? Or does it mean a complete overhaul in how you make income? Okay. And if like the playtime with your numbers felt anxiety inducing, it's because your headspace was already here being like, but how am I going to make that happen? Like that's out of the realm of possibility. Like I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. It's because you jumped. And what I also want you to resist here is the thoughts that are coming in that are going to say like, well, you can't, or that would be hard. The only question you are asking is, what would it require? Okay. From the most neutral place of, it would require me to make X amount a year. It would require me to make X amount a month. It would require me to find a new job that pays me this. It would require me to book double the amount of bookings that I got this year. It would require me to increase my client load by 10 clients a year. It would require me to add on another stream of income or increase my prices because I'm already maxed out time-wise in my calendar. It would require me to have 4 hours more a week that I could completely devote to writing or to my artistic work. It would require me to learn insert skill. So it doesn't just have to be about like income and spending, but like there might be other things that would be required of you to create that kind of life that had this kind of numbers that were attached to them from the previous moment. So that's the kind of list that I want you to create. And it might be a short list, it might be a long list, but that's as deep as I want you to go for this part of the exercise. It would require me to insert this, insert this, insert this with the most neutral sense of the word, okay? Here's your next pause point as you do that. Okay, next part of the exercise. Now, I want you to go, and this is when I want you to open the floodgates to your feelings, open the floodgates to your mindset, thoughts that are coming in, and I want you to journal on them, right? When you open the floodgates, if you just need to get it all out, great, stream of consciousness journal. If you want some specific guidelines of how to journal on these feelings that might be coming up, pick the one that feels the most out of the realm of possibility, or the one that your brain is like, are you fucking kidding me? Get real, right? Or like, how on earth? Or that would take so much work. Whatever that one is, that's the one I want you to journal on. And I want you to ask yourself, to achieve this, to learn this skill, to book these things, to increase client load, to get the job that pays me this, to earn this amount per year, that would mean I would have to do this or do this or do this. And then why do those feel hard? Why do those feel impossible? And this is where I want you, you're just going to have a lot of limiting beliefs just explode out of you here of like, well, I've never seen anyone do that, or I've only seen people who are not in my current, space be able to do that. I'm afraid that if I do that, it's going to pull me away from my artistic work. I'm afraid that if I do that, it's going to, if I do all these things artistically, it's actually going to make me less available to earn money in the way that I want to earn it over here. Like, there's so many things that could come out here, right? So it's probably going to be a lot of limiting beliefs. Okay, let them all out. Let all the feelings out. This is also where if you're feeling any, if guilt is coming up or shame is coming up of well, I should have learned that already, or I should have been at this point already, or other people I feel like already have this or already figured this out and I don't. Let all of that come out. Okay, now here's the next part of the exercise. If you need to pause here. Next part of the exercise, you're going to start at the top of your journal page, or this is what you're going to think to yourself as you go on your walk and think, or however you're doing this work. You're going to say to yourself, it might be crazy, but here's how I would do it. Or it might be hard, but here's what I would do. And I want you to think about this as you're coming in as an external consultant for your life. And you're not you. You're coming in and you're like, okay, so this person wants to do this. Here's exactly what you would do. Here's what you would need to do, and here's how you would get there. Or here's all the things you could try, and one of these would probably stick. You're going to come in as an external consultant, and that's what you're going to do to yourself, and you're going to line out all of the things. Now, again, don't jump ahead in the exercise. This is not you having to do these things. This is not you needing to get yourself on board with committing to this. This is just an exercise of you're an external consultant coming in and being this would be hard, but here's this. Or this might be pretty rare, but here's exactly how you would do it. And see what comes up. See what roadmaps come up. And you can do this for multiple different versions. If you're not stuck on one version of that dream life that you've plopped yourself into, you can play with this, right? Okay, so now here's the last part of the exercise. It's just titled, what am I going to do? Not? That's now the thing that I want you to write at the top of your journal page, or the thing that I want you to think about, is the phrase, what am I going to do? Not? Not pursue this life that I'm so excited about, not pursue these dreams, not pursue this reality just because of those limiting beliefs or the things that I don't think are possible or whatever. And this is where you're probably going to get a little existential. But that phrase for me, what am I going to do? Not really snaps me back into what the fuck do I mean? I'm going to not chase after my dreams. I'm going to not take the scary leap with this one precious life that I have on this earth. So I don't love to go into deathbed energy. That's not really my vibe. But when I think about one precious life to be Brooke Tyler Benson on this earth, that usually gets me into gear. But I want you to journal on why does it matter to you that you pursue these things or pursue this dream vision of your life that you've plopped yourself into that have numbers attached to them, right? Yes, of course. But the initial stuff of the big vision stuff, the creative vision stuff, the things you want to experience, the things you want to do, they have numbers attached to them, yes, which then creates some action steps and some beliefs that are limiting that make you feel like that's impossible that you need to work through, right? That then we're going to have to process through to get back to why is this even, why? Why do I want to? And I don't know what's going to come up for you there, right? But I want you to really dig deep here and decide, put a fucking flag in the sand. Flag in the sand, is that a phrase? What that's definitely not the phrase. But put a something in a something. You're nailing it into the wall. It is your manifesto of why is this important to you? Why does it matter that you continue this? And again, that phrase, what am I going to do? Not. And actually ask yourself that. It's it's okay if you don't do any of this. How does that make you feel? What does that mean for you? What are you going to do? Not. And then, like I said, this is the last part of the exercise. There's no action list. There's no items you need to complete. There's no, okay, now turn it into this goal or this checklist or this thing for the next 3 months that you're going to work towards. None of that. Then you're going to close the journal. That's it. Close the journal or turn off the music or get yourself back home if you were out on a walk and think. You're going to take a couple deep breaths. I love to light some incense afterwards to cleanse the energy. Close it out. And then you're not going to touch it. for like a week. Okay? And you're not going to, and I say like, don't touch it for a week, but I mean like that's the end of the exercise. You have now done the work. There is nothing more for you to do with this exercise. But now what you have done is you have put into your body desires, excitement, rough numbers, right? Like loose numbers, estimate numbers of what that means. You've pulled up some limiting beliefs that you might not have, pulled up before. Some thoughts that you have about those things. And then like, again, what am I going to do? What are your thoughts about why you actually want that? Now you've brought all that up. You've literally like excavated the caves inside of your feelers, your deep moral compass, your value center. You've excavated, right? So now it's on the surface. There's nothing more you need to do. Do not turn this into a checklist. But now, over the course of the next few weeks, as you are moving through your life, hopefully destimulating at some points, hopefully you have some, and again, like not necessarily a meditation practice, but some sort of intrinsic reflection, whether that's journaling, whether that's meditation, whether that's even like your therapy sessions, whatever it is, that you're like going in, that stuff's open. That stuff's on the surface now. So you don't have to do any more work on that. But as you continue then to journal and to think and to make your weekly calendar, to decide what your priorities are, now that work is done. So like the things that you would have created in a checklist to do, or like forced yourself to like, again, new year, new me energy, let's get to it. All of that stuff is just going to automatically surface because you have done this exercise, because you have taken the time to actually excavate what needs to excavate, bring it to the surface, and let life do its thing. Let then your brain pull when it feels right, when it feels ready, when it feels open to certain things. Like maybe one week you're feeling really pulled to start reaching out to certain people that's tied to a specific part of your vision that you had of like the kind of creative work you want to do. And that means getting connected with these certain people. So you've decided this week you're really excited about reaching out to like 2 tiers below those people to start meeting. So then maybe you can, and it's just one piece of that exercise that then came into this week's to-do list, right? Or maybe it's as you're journaling, a limiting belief that came up from this exercise 3 weeks ago has been on repeat in your brain, and you're really starting to get frustrated with it. And then you like happen to listen to a podcast, maybe it's this podcast, or you see like an Instagram reel or a TikTok, or you're having a conversation with someone and they say something to you that starts to like unclog that limiting belief, starts to adjust that one and starts to make it fall away. But it's because you've been ruminating on it for so long. So the most important thing that I want you to hear from this is I don't want you to take this exercise and make it into a to-do list. All of that will surface over the next few weeks if you have taken the time to just do this 1 hour of excavation, okay? And I think this is a really great way to start the year, because I don't know about y'all, but my real year feels like it starts in April. So like January, February, March are very much like we're easing into the year. I'm figuring out what 2026 even is. I'm deciding what my values are for the year. And then Aries season hits, my birthday hits, and we are off to the fucking races. Now I've gotten some clarity on what's the shit I actually want to take action on. What's the stuff I actually want to do? Like let's put pen to paper. Let's put feet to pavement. That's when that energy starts to kick in. So it's okay if this exercise, again, just like lets you ruminate for the next couple of months or the next couple of weeks to see what starts to surface when it comes to taking action and getting really clear on those practical, tactical things. Let's start January in a real vibey excavation place, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this exercise. I hope you learned a lot and a lot got brought up for you. I hope there's some new things that surfaced for you. And I will see you back here next week. Again, this was recorded before I went out of office. So I'll be back with like new episodes post my little vacation moment. I'm going to do a lot of like ideation. I'm going to be doing this exercise myself as we hit the new year. So I'll probably have some thoughts on that as I start recording new podcasts for 2026. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists.
And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.